The story, characters, and incidents portrayed in this video/audio are fictitious. No identification with actual persons, living or deceased, places, buildings, and products is intended or should be inferred. No part of this work may be reproduced, distributed, or transmitted in any form or by any means, including photocopying, recording, or other electronic or mechanical methods, without the prior written permission of the publisher, except in the case of brief quotations embodied in critical reviews and certain other non-commercial uses permitted by copyright law. This story is a work of fiction created for entertainment purposes only. The views and opinions expressed in this narrative are solely those of the author and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any associated entities or individuals.
Welcome to Monsters and Mysteries, the channel where the unknown and the unexplained come to life. Dive deep into the world of chilling tales and enigmatic legends. From the depths of the ocean to the heart of forgotten forests, we explore the most captivating and spine-tingling stories from around the globe. Join us as we unravel the secrets of legendary monsters, investigate ancient myths, and decode mysterious phenomena. Each episode, we bring you a new monster or mystery of the week, accompanied by thrilling tales. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, Monsters and Mysteries offers a journey into the uncharted territories of our world. Subscribe and join us every week for a new adventure into the unknown.
Case 1. The Beast of Mootastic Ventures. Chapter 1. Unearthly Discovery. In the quiet semi-urban town of Greenfield, USA, nestled among the sprawling fields and forests, stood Mootastic Ventures Incorporated, a renowned cattle ranch and beef processing plant. The town, usually humming with the mundane activities of daily life, was shaken to its core one eerie night when a chilling discovery was made. The night air in Greenfield was usually filled with the comforting chorus of crickets and the distant lowing of cattle. But this night, a disturbing silence hung over Mootastic Ventures Incorporated. Sheriff John Hawkins, a man of integrity and grit, felt a chill run down his spine as he stepped out of his cruiser, the eerie quiet unsettling him more than he cared to admit. The ranch, a sprawling facility bathed in the pale light of the moon, seemed like a scene frozen in time. As he approached the scene, his boots crunching on the gravel, Hawkins' eyes fell upon the grotesque sight. Cattle lay strewn across the field, their bodies mutilated in a manner that defied logic.
"What kind of creature does this?"
he muttered to himself, his seasoned eyes scanning for clues. Dr. Emily Sanders, the town's respected veterinarian, arrived shortly, her face a mask of professional concern. As she examined the wounds, her brow furrowed in confusion.
"This is impossible,"
she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rustling leaves. The bites were a perplexing mix of ragged and precise, as if inflicted by both a predator and an herbivore. The following morning, Hawkins convened a meeting at the sheriff's office. The walls, adorned with pictures of Greenfield's serene landscapes, felt mockingly peaceful. Jake Martinez and Laura Nguyen, the animal control officers, looked grim as they discussed the possible predators in the area.
"Nothing we know of could have done this,"
Jake said, shaking his head. The town buzzed with rumors and fear. Hawkins patrolled the streets, the townsfolk's anxious faces reflecting their unease. The once vibrant town square, with its quaint cafes and stores, now echoed with hushed conversations and theories about the unexplained killings. Chapter 2. Mysterious Predators. Night fell again, and with it came more unnerving news. Zoe, the teenage daughter of the ranch manager, a kind-hearted girl with a deep affinity for animals, lay awake in her room, her gaze fixed on the shadowy forests. She heard a faint, dragging sound and saw a large, dark figure pulling a cow into the woods. Her heart raced, and she fought the urge to scream, fearing what this monster might be. The next day, Hawkins and his team discovered the drag marks leading into the forest. The underbrush was broken and trampled, a clear path of something large and powerful having passed through. The air was heavy with the scent of pine and a faint, unplaceable odor that made Hawkins uneasy. As dawn broke over the ranch, the investigation team reconvened, their faces etched with frustration and bewilderment. Lauren Gwynn, one of the animal control officers, threw her hands up in exasperation.
Nothing! We found absolutely nothing!
She exclaimed. Her partner, Jake Martinez, nodded in agreement.
It's like we're chasing a ghost. Clear signs of a wild animal, yet nothing tangible. It's as if it knows we're after it.
He added, his voice tinged with disbelief. Sheriff Hawkins, leaning against his desk, regarded them with a mix of sympathy and resolve.
It was dark, and whatever we're dealing with might just be better at hiding its tracks than we thought. Don't be too hard on yourselves. Daylight might reveal more.
He said, trying to bolster their spirits. Dr. Emily Sanders, who had been poring over her notes, looked up thoughtfully.
The preliminary evidence on the cadavers does indicate an omnivore.
She began, her words trailing off into the heavy air of the room. Jake, rubbing his chin, ventured a guess.
So, are we talking about bear or something?
His question hung in the room, laden with doubt. Hawkins interjected, his brow furrowed in thought.
But there haven't been any bear sightings in these forests for decades.
He pointed out, his tone laced with skepticism. Dr. Sanders adjusted her glasses, her expression turning serious.
Let's not jump to conclusions. I'll need more time to analyze the evidence thoroughly.
She cautioned. Hawkins stroked his chin, a gesture that signaled his deep contemplation.
I agree, Emily. But am I the only one puzzled here? First, we find a few cows slaughtered and devoured within the ranch. And then, what does our, let's say, culprit do? Instead of continuing its act on the ranch, it cleverly drags its prey into the forest, despite the increased security.
He mused, his tone laced with intrigue. Dr. Sanders nodded, a flicker of realization crossing her features.
You're right, John. It's almost as if it's evolving, not just in intelligence, but in its predatory skills, almost overnight.
She added, her voice a blend of awe and unease. The room fell into a thoughtful silence, each person grappling with the implications of a predator beyond their understanding, lurking in the shadows of Greenfield. Chapter 3. The Unlikely Thief. The mystery deepened when large quantities of beef vanished from the processing plant after a couple of nights. Hawkins, reviewing the security footage, spotted a figure shrouded in darkness, skillfully evading cameras. The thief's identity was a mystery, their motives even more so. Back at the sheriff's office, Dr. Emily Sanders gathered the team to share her startling findings. With a solemn expression, she revealed that they had discovered an unknown DNA in the saliva found on the cattle cadavers' bite marks.
It's similar to bovine DNA, but there are mutations I've never encountered before. This is unprecedented,
she explained, her voice tinged with a mix of excitement and concern. Sheriff Hawkins leaned forward, his eyes narrowing thoughtfully.
Are you certain this DNA belongs to the assailant, and not just the slaughtered cows?
He asked, seeking clarity. Before Dr. Sanders could respond, Jake, the animal control officer, interjected with a tone of impatience.
Look, lady, all this talk about unknown DNA doesn't change the facts. We've dealt with wild animal attacks before, and I'm convinced this is no different. We're organizing another sweep of the forest with a couple of forest rangers. We'll catch whatever's out there,
he declared confidently, before leaving with Laura, his partner. Hawkins, left alone in the dimly lit room, reviewed the security footage from the processing plant once again. His eyes squinted as he tried to discern details in the grainy images. Suddenly, something caught his attention.
The lighting's too dim, but wait a second.
He murmured, leaning closer to the screen.
That jacket, there's a brief moment it's caught in the light, and I've seen that pattern before. Recently, but where?
He racked his brain, the image hauntingly familiar. In a flash of realization, he got up and stormed out, determined to follow this new lead. Hours later, hidden near the edge of the ranch, Hawkins lay in wait. His patience paid off as he spotted a figure emerging from the forest. It was Zoe, the ranch manager's daughter. His heart sank as the pieces fell into place.
So, it was you, Zoe.
Hawkins said, stepping out of the shadows. His voice was a mix of disappointment and concern.
I remembered the jacket design when I visited your house a few days ago. It's the same one worn by the thief at the plant. Your parents confirmed it's yours. Why did you steal the beef? What were you doing in the forest at this hour? You know it's dangerous with a wild animal on the loose.
Zoe froze, caught in the act, her eyes wide with fear and guilt. The night air hung heavy around them, filled with unanswered questions and the shadow of a lurking, unknown danger. Chapter 4. Face to Face. The atmosphere at the station was tense as Zoe, accompanied by Sheriff Hawkins, faced Dr. Emily Sanders. Just as Zoe was about to reveal her secret, the doors burst open. Jake, supported by Laura, limped in, his leg bleeding profusely.
Your leg is bleeding. What happened?
Hawkins asked, his voice filled with concern.
Dr. Sanders, can you help him, please?
Laura called out, her voice laced with panic. Dr. Sanders quickly attended to Jake, applying first aid to the deep scratch wounds on his thigh.
I've managed to stop the bleeding for now. He needs to get to a hospital immediately,
she advised, her tone urgent. Hawkins, his attention divided between Zoe and the injured Jake, asked,
Before you leave for the hospital, can you tell us what happened?
Laura answered, her voice shaking.
Something attacked him in the forest.
Jake, still reeling from the shock, recounted the incident.
I didn't see anything clearly. It was just a blur. I thought I heard something in the bushes, noticed maybe antlers or horns in the distance. I assumed it was a deer. But then, out of nowhere, something slashed my leg.
His voice trembled with the aftershock of the attack.
I didn't wait to see what it was. He was hurt and bleeding. We needed to get out of there.
Laura added, her face pale. Jake, his voice rising in anger and fear, exclaimed,
It could have killed us. We need to put down whatever that thing is before it hurts anyone else.
Zoe, unable to contain herself any longer, burst out.
But she didn't, did she? She was only defending herself.
Tears welled up in her eyes as she continued.
I had already fed her. She wasn't looking for food. Why would she want to hurt you? Leave her alone.
The room fell silent, every eye turning to Zoe in confusion. Dr. Sanders, her curiosity piqued, asked,
Wait, she? What do you mean, Zoe? What are you talking about?
Hawkins, piecing together the puzzle, said with a mixture of awe and incredulity.
So that's why you stole the beef. But Zoe, you've got a lot of explaining to do.
The stage was set for Zoe to unveil the truth behind the terrifying events that had gripped Greenfield, a revelation that would challenge everything they thought they knew about the natural world. Chapter 5. Unraveling the Mystery. Zoe, all this while, had been struggling with a terrible secret. She had seen the beast, a horrifying mutation of a cow, its mouth an unnatural blend of teeth. This mutated cow, with a terrifying visage, had been born and raised on the ranch. She remembered it as a calf, innocent and unassuming, now transformed into something out of a nightmare. Driven by a mix of fear and compassion, she had started stealing beef to feed it, hoping to keep it away from the ranch and her family as well as saving the beast from getting killed by the authorities. In the dimly lit room of the sheriff's office, Jake and Laura remained skeptical, dismissing Zoe's claims of a monstrous beast as nothing more than the wild imaginations of a scared child. However, Dr. Emily Sanders, leaning against the wall with a contemplative expression, offered a different perspective.
Coming from a scientific background, I find it crucial not to dismiss what we don't understand as mere fantasy.
Dr. Sanders began, her voice steady and rational.
Genetic mutations, whether due to pathogens, environmental factors, or human activities like exposure to nuclear waste, are not unheard of in the scientific community.
She paused, letting her words sink in.
Our tests from the cadavers revealed dead viral cells, a virus unknown to my expertise. I plan to send the evidence and my initial findings to experts with more resources. It's just a theory, but this could be an undiscovered virus that infected a cow from the ranch. The source could be the cow feed, the nutritional supplements used at the ranch, or something else entirely.
The room fell silent, each person grappling with the implications of her theory. Sheriff Hawkins, standing by the window, broke the silence.
Theories aside, we need to focus on what to do next. My priority is the safety of our citizens. So far, this creature has only killed a few cows, and while it's true that both humans and wild animals kill cattle for food, we must consider the potential danger to people.
Hawkins' gaze was firm, reflecting his sense of duty. He continued, his voice tinged with frustration.
It also attacked Jake, but any wild animal might react similarly if threatened. People break laws every day, harm others, and get away with it by using their money and influence. The question is, how do we balance protecting our community with the understanding that this creature, whatever it is, might also be a victim of circumstances beyond its control?
Hawkins' words echoed in the room, posing a moral and practical dilemma that had no easy answers. The challenge they faced was not just a physical threat but a test of their values and judgment in the face of the unknown. Chapter 6. The Risky Plan. In the quiet aftermath of Jake and Laura's departure for medical attention, Sheriff Hawkins shared his risky plan with Dr. Emily Sanders.
Tonight, I'm going into the forest alone, armed only with a tranquilizer. If I take anyone else, be it my colleagues or animal control, it could end in the creature's death.
He explained, his voice low but determined. His plan was clear: capture the beast and bring it back for Dr. Sanders to conduct thorough tests.
We need to ensure it's not carrying any disease-causing pathogens. If it's no more dangerous than any wild animal, we can try to release it back into nature, far in the forest.
Hawkins proposed, his gaze fixed on Dr. Sanders. Dr. Sanders nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation.
I agree with your plan, but I insist on coming with you,
she said firmly.
My knowledge might be crucial in handling the creature.
Zoe, who had been listening in silence, suddenly spoke up.
Let me come with you. She knows me. She might not hurt you if I'm there.
She pleaded, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and determination. Hawkins, taken aback, responded.
Might? That's hardly reassuring, Zoe. I can't risk your safety. My job is to protect you, not put you in further danger.
Zoe, however, was persistent.
When trained animal control officers couldn't find her, how do you expect to succeed in her territory at night? If I'm there, maybe with more beef, she might come to us instead. She knows my scent. This is a better plan, and you know it.
She argued, her voice laced with conviction. Hawkins, caught in a dilemma, glanced towards Dr. Sanders for support. She gave a subtle nod, indicating her agreement with whatever decision he made. After a moment of contemplation, Hawkins sighed and conceded.
Fine, but at the first sign of danger, both of you run, even if I have to stay behind.
He said, his voice heavy with the weight of the responsibility he was taking on. The plan was set, fraught with danger and uncertainty, but driven by a desperate hope to resolve the crisis that had befallen Greenfield. Chapter 7. Unseen Truth. Late that night, Hawkins and Dr. Sanders, following Zoe, ventured deep into the forest. The air was thick with the scent of decay, the ground littered with bones and remnants of the beast's feasts. As they pushed deeper, a low growl echoed through the trees, sending shivers down their spines. There, in a small clearing, they saw it, the beast. Its eyes glowed with a haunting intelligence, its body a grotesque display of nature gone awry. They stood frozen, a mix of horror and fascination gripping them. The creature stared at them, a moment suspended in time, before vanishing into the darkness. Under the dense canopy of the forest, with the moonlight barely breaking through the foliage, Hawkins, Dr. Sanders, and Zoe stood at the edge of a clearing. They had followed the trail as far as they dared, but it was clear they were too late. Hawkins, wiping the sweat from his brow, looked at the deepening shadows around them.
It's no use. We should not chase her any further,
he cautioned, his voice tinged with regret.
She's not the only danger in these woods, especially if we venture deeper.
Dr. Sanders, examining the tracks they had found, added.
And it seems she doesn't need Zoe's help to survive. She's more than capable of taking care of herself in the wild.
She paused, then asked.
So what do we do now?
Hawkins, his gaze distant, responded with a hint of doubt in his voice.
We share everything we've found and experienced, the scientific evidence, witness testimonies from Zoe, Jake, Laura, and ourselves, along with your theory, with the authorities, the scientific community, and the public. We can only hope that they take this seriously and do what's right for both the public and the beast.
Chapter 8. The Vanishing Act. The next day, upon their return to the office, they were met with a disheartening discovery. All reports and evidence from the case had vanished. Dr. Sanders frantically called the various experts she had sent samples to for further testing, only to find that none had received anything. Hawkins tried to contact Jake and Laura for their account, but he was informed that, after receiving medical treatment, they had been abruptly called away and had left Greenfield. As Sheriff Hawkins grilled the night duty officers about the missing evidence, someone in the office switched on the television. The room fell silent as they watched Mr. Richard Thornton, the owner of Mootastic Ventures Incorporated, and the mayor of Greenfield holding a press conference. The weight of the situation hung heavily in the air. The truth they had fought so hard to uncover was slipping away, smothered by unseen forces with agendas of their own. The fate of the beast, along with the safety and knowledge of the public, hung precariously in the balance. In the aftermath, the town struggled to come to terms with the bizarre events. Mr. Thornton, with his influence over the authorities, spun a tale of a rogue wolf, dismissing the truth. The bizarre events were dismissed as a hoax to allay public fear. The case was closed, the story buried under layers of skepticism and disbelief. And the monster relegated to the realm of legend. In the tense atmosphere of the sheriff's office, as the echoes of Mr. Thornton's and the mayor's words faded from the television, Hawkins and Dr. Sanders exchanged a knowing look. The gravity of the situation was immediately clear to them, yet all they could manage was to gaze at each other in stunned silence. The realization of what had transpired hit them with overwhelming force, yet they found themselves at a loss for words, their expressions a mirror of shared disbelief and frustration. The truth they had painstakingly uncovered was being systematically erased, leaving them grappling with a sense of powerlessness against forces much larger than themselves. That evening, Sheriff Hawkins sat at his desk, the weight of the untold truth heavy on his shoulders. He wondered about the real monster of this tale, the creature struggling to exist, or the humans who, through their recklessness, had created it. He gazed out the window, pondering if the beast still roamed the forests, a guardian of a secret too unbelievable to be acknowledged. The end.
Thank you for joining us on Monsters and Mysteries. We hope you enjoyed this journey into the enigmatic and unknown. If you're fascinated by the world of the unexplained, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications on our latest episodes. Until next time, keep questioning the world around you. Who knows what mysteries you might uncover?